technique that will definitely be valuable to you as a controller is called Trinket Cycling. I'll cover this with both one controller powering a team and two controllers powering a team. The ultimate reason why you would use this method is to obviously buff your stats, in this case it's Vitalization, so that you can produce more power out during combat to your teammates over a specific amount of time. And that amount of time is going to be a variable I'll also get into because it's very important, or it can be very important, on when you decide to cycle your trinkets. Before I get into these details, you need to know about the 3 types of trinkets you can cycle, and when I say cycle, I mean they do not share the same cooldown. The first type, which is what most controllers will carry, is your normal and standard Vitalization buff trinket. This is the type of Vite trinket that has its stats constantly upgraded when it comes time for new content to drop new gear. If you look at the Vitalization buff that it grants, you'll see that generally the newest trinket will have higher Vite. All the trinkets in this category work the same. They share the same 2-minute cooldown and they grant their buff for 20 seconds. One way to know whether the buff is still active, aside from knowing what your Vite buffed pot tick is and your instant power heal, is if you look at the green crosshairs underneath your name tag. Although it's not extremely detailed, you should know that this icon commonly means there's some type of stat buff up. If there's a buff up already active, you could also look at your actions menu, then scroll down to the current effects, or you can go to the stats menu and you look at your Vite. In addition, and probably the most easiest, is once the cooldown on your trinket reaches between 2 and 3 o'clock, that's another indicator that the Vite buff has expired. Because this specific trinket receives stat advances, it is an ideal trinket for you to prioritize when you pop your power supercharges. If you look at the most recent Vite trinket around the date this video was created, which is the 156CR Manipulator's Tempered Alloy device, it gives 1039 Vite. That's a 74 pot tick increase. Ultimately, depending on the controller's Vite, the power cost of power spam, and the number of actual buffed pot ticks, which is usually 4, you will allow for 1 to 2 extra powers to be used in that 20-second period. It's usually, though, just around 1 extra power cast. I've got variables and a scenario set up in my notes, so if you're curious about it, just ask in the comments and I'll type it out. Otherwise, I'll just keep going on with the info. Your second type of trinket is the pet kind. The duration of the cooldown is also 2 minutes, but it is not shared with your normal type trinkets. The pet type also buffs your Vite for 20 seconds as well. There's a couple that you can get, with one being Spooky Jack from the Halloween seasonal. It gives 164 Vite, which is a pot tick increase of 11, which is not a lot, but it mostly controls and attacks. The most useful one, though, is the Deep Sea Chanter, which you can get from the summer seasonal vendor every summer cycle. The pet will assist you in combat for 1 minute or until it's knocked out. It will also perform attacks, and damage will scale with your combat rating. Within the first 5 seconds of you summoning it, it will deliver 1 power tick along with buffing your Vite by a flat 246. Around the 35 seconds that it's out, it will deliver the second and final power tick to you. Each power tick will deliver a range from 155 to 205. This range, along with the 246 Vite buff, currently does not scale or increase every year. The 246 Vite increase amounts to just 17 pot ticks, which is not fantastic, but still decent. The final type is the Form Trinket, which is also known as the Central City Trinket. It's from the Lightning Strikes DLC, and it's available on your left to the rear of Quake Lee in Central City. He's a vendor. Warning, it does cost 60 marks of victory. Depending on the type of battle you're in and whether there's actual high DPS from your damagers, you will normally be able to use this trinket in a boss fight once. The reason is due to the 5-minute and 20-second cooldown on the trinket. When you see the yellow lightning animation on your character, that tells you that the trinket is ready to be used again. But why would I recommend a trinket with such a long cooldown? This trinket buffs your Vitalization by 240 and your Dominance by 192 for 20 seconds each time that you activate it. After 20 seconds goes by from when you first hit it, simply cast the trinket again and you'll reactivate the buff for another 20 seconds. You can do this for a third time after that. So the buff can last for 60 seconds, that's a minute. That's an increase of 17 for your pot tick and an increase in your instant power heals for 60 seconds. You can activate the trinket buff up to 3 times, but once you reach the point of stunned when activating it, which is usually what happens when you use the trinket for the 4th time, you won't be able to access that last bit of Vite buff, and you'll have to deal with the 40 seconds of an increased Vite, which isn't bad anyway. The usefulness of this trinket also does not end there. Just check out the description. Activate the trinket, then hold square on your controller or hold melee on your mouse, and it will grant a shield to yourself. It will last for 10 seconds or until the damage cap is reached. The cap for damage is 1750, no matter what your combat rating is or what your stats are. And it will absorb 100% of the damage dealt to you. That means once enemies have dealt 1750 damage to the shield, it will shut off. Do note there are occasions where you won't see the bubble shield on your character, but you'll see the yellow lightning streaks. Your shield will be up when you cast it. To a lesser degree, you can activate the trinket, then hold triangle or hold range, and you'll activate a 360-degree area of effect damage component, but more importantly, a power regen ability. It's actually about 1 second faster than the Brawling into Shuriken Storm Weapon Mastery combo. It'll take you up to 24 in your hit combo meter, which is tier 4 if you have the Brawling weapon on. Any other weapon is just going to scale differently into the tiers. 21 is the visual entrance for tier 4 for brawling, but 22 is what will get you the actual tier 4 regen scaling. It takes 5 seconds for the trinket hold triangle ability to get you there. So that's fast power regen and a knockdown control effect on up to 4 enemies in that 360 AoE. And the downside really is with this part is that you're planted to one spot, so you're vulnerable to charge attacks or AoE attacks that are on the ground. You can use both abilities in one go while the trinket is still active if you use them early. I decided to split this video up because it was just going to come out to like a 20-minute video, and I'm not going to sit here and like edit it because it's just going to take longer. So this is part 1, and then part 2 will actually show you the strategy and how you can apply these trinkets into combat.